Hi friends, today I'll explain about exception handling concept in Java language. What is exception? Exception is nothing but a runtime error. Generally in Java language, three types of errors are there. First one is syntax error. Syntax error means related to syntax. If we write incorrect code or method or structure, we'll get syntax error. And next one is logical error. We'll get output but wrong output. Related to logic, it means if we write incorrect formula, we'll get wrong output. The next one is runtime error. Runtime error means at the time of running the program, at the time of giving input, we'll get runtime error. So we can see definition. Exception handling means when there is an exception, the user data may be corrupted. So it should be tackled by the programmer. So we have to perform three steps to overcome this. Step 1. The programmer should observe the statements in his program where there may be a possibility of exceptions. Such statements should be written inside a try block. This is the first step we have to perform. So you can see syntax. Try keyword, open bracket and close bracket. So in between we have to write statements. The greatness of try block is that even if some exception arises inside it, the program will not be terminated. When JVM understands that there is an exception, it stores the exception details in an exception stack and then jumps into a catch block. And next, we have to perform step 2. The programmer should write the catch block where he should display the exception details to the user. So it helps the user to understand that there is some error in the program. The programmer should also display message regarding what can be done to add this error. So you can see structure catch and with open bracket exception class and reference variable. So all details exception details will be stored in ref. And next statements. The reference ref above is automatically adjusted to refer to the exception stack where the details of the exception are available. So all details will be stored in ref. You can see structure. Next, step 3. Lastly, the programmer should perform cleanup operations like closing the files and terminating the threads. The programmer should write this code in the final block. So you can see syntax. Finally, open bracket, statements and close brackets. The specialty of finally block is that the statements inside the final block will be executed irrespective of whether there is an exception or not. So this ensures that all the open files are properly closed and all the running threads are properly terminated. So the data in the files will not be corrupted and the user is at the safe side. So performing the above three steps is called exception handling. And next, handling multiple exceptions. You can see here handling multiple exceptions. Most of the times there is a possibility of more than one exception present in the program. In this case, the programmer should write multiple catch blocks to handle each one of them. So first case you can see int array A values elements 11, 22, 33. In next case we are trying to store 200 value at the 50th position. So you can see right side array of 0 means starting position 11, next position 1, 22 stored and second position 33. So you can see here syntax catch array index out of bounds exception and reference variable. Here we are displaying message. If you observe in the above statement, we created an array A with 3 elements. Index of the array represents the element position in the array. So in this case, The index is from 0 to 2. Since there are 3 elements, there is no index like 50. But if you observe, here we are trying to store 200 at index position 50 in the second statement. That is, you can see a of 50 equal to 200. This leads to an exception called array index out of bounds exception. And next, throws class. All exceptions occur at runtime, but some exceptions are detected at compile time and some others at runtime. The exceptions that are checked at compilation time by the Java compiler are called checked exceptions, while the exceptions that are checked by the JVM are called unchecked exceptions. In this case, checked exceptions, the programmer should either handle them or throw them without handling them using throws clause. Otherwise, there will be an error flagged by Java compiler. So you can see here public static void main string args. We mentioned here throws IO exception. Here IO exception is an example for checked exception. So we threw it out of the main method without handling it. Here we are not handling, we are just throwing. This is done by throws clause written after main method. That's why we have to mention here throws clause after main method. And next, throw class. There is also a throw statement available in Java to throw an exception explicitly and catch it. Here we are creating an object of null pointer exception class and throwing it out of try block. So this is the syntax: throw new null pointer exception, and whatever we want to display we can write exception data. Here null pointer exception class object is created and the exception data is stored in its object, that is here NE. Next, types of exceptions. There are two types of exceptions there in Java language. First one is built-in exceptions and second one is user-defined exceptions. So we'll discuss about built-in exceptions. First one, arithmetic exception. Next one, array index out of bounds exception. And next, class not found exception. Arithmetic exception means thrown when an exception condition has occurred in an arithmetic operation. While performing arithmetic operation, if any error occur, it will display. And next one, already we discussed array index out of bound exception, thrown to indicate that an array has been accessed with an illegal index. And next, class not found exception. This exception is raised when we try to access a class whose definition is not found. Next, file not found exception, raised when a file is not accessible or does not open. And next, IO exception, thrown when an input output operation failed or interrupted. And next, interrupted exception, thrown when a thread is waiting or sleeping or doing some processing and it's interrupted. And next, no such field exception, thrown when a class does not contain the field specified. And no such method exception, it means thrown when accessing a method which is not found. Next, user defined exceptions. It means user can create an exception class as a subclass to exception class, since all exceptions are subclasses of exception class. So the user can write a default constructor in his own exception class and then he can use it in case he does not want to store any exception details. You can see here syntax: class my exception. My exception is our user defined class. Extends, we are using extends keyword because we are inheriting all exceptions from exception class. You may think, why user defined exceptions? Because sometimes The built-in exceptions in Java are not able to describe a certain situation. In such cases, like the built-in exceptions, the user can also create his own exceptions, which are called user-defined exceptions. That's why we have to use user-defined exceptions. And next, you can see constructor my exception open bracket close bracket. The user can create a parameterized constructor which is a string as a parameter. He can use this to store exception details. He can call superclass constructor from this and send the string there. So now I'll explain about an example for an exception handling. So class ex1 class name first letter should be capital letter open bracket public static void main string args open bracket. Next, where opening the files. If you want to access data, what you will do? You'll open the file, you'll access data, and at the end, you'll close the file. For example, if you won't close file properly, what will happen? Data will be lost. So if you see here, int n equal to args dot length. It means it's a command line argument. At the time of running the program, will give input. So for example, if we give three values, n value 3. So int a equal to 60 by n value 3. So 60 by 3 will get a value how much? 20. So system dot out dot println a value 20 it will display later closing the files. Right. For example, at the time of running the program, if you won't give values, n value becomes 0. So a equal to 60 by 0. It means we cannot divide. Undefined. So what will happen? Program will terminate abruptly. Close. So see here. Close the files. So files will not be closed properly. So what will happen? Data will be lost. To overcome such problems, exception handling came into picture. I'll show you practically. Cd space enter exception, because here you can see ex1.java file I stored in exception folder. So that's why cd space exception. Change directory. Now I'm working in C drive exception folder. So my Java file is there in exception folder. Now I'll compile java c space ex1 e capital letter dot java. Enter. Now I'll run the program java space ex1. Now I'll enter key values. For example 25, 47, 84. Any values you can give. It treats as a key values only. 25 1 value, 47 2 and 84. Total 3. So n value becomes 3. So n equal to 3. A equal to 60 by 3. We got 20. And you can see here closing the files. First opening the files and closing the files. In second case, I will not give values. So n value 0. What will happen? Program will terminate abruptly. In this example, I'm not using exception handling concept. I'm not using try or catch block or finally block. Just I want to show you what will happen if you won't use exception handling class. See, n equal to see what happened here, opening the files. Okay, n value 0. It displayed message exception in thread java.lang.arithmetic exception by 0, 60 by 0, undefined value. But last statement closing the files not executed. It means we open file as it is, so data will be lost. So to overcome these, we have to use exception handling class. In another program, I'll show you how to use exception handling concept. So in this program, we use exception handling concept, try block, catch, and final blocks we used. See here, class name ex2, open bracket, public static void main, string args, open bracket, try, open the files. Actually, in this program, the try block contains the statements where there is a possibility for an exception. You can see here. In try block only, we mention logic int a equal to 45 by n. When there is an exception, JVM jumps into catch block. The final block is executed even if there is an exception or not. So you can see here. N value, for example, again 3, 45 by 3 will get value 20. For example, n value 0, what will happen? It will go, controller goes to the catch block and it will display here, and later it will display please pass data while running this program. Final block at the end, final block will be executed whether the error occurs or not. I'll show you practically. Java space ex2 values, any three values, open files, n equal to 3, a equal to 15, close the files. This time not give, not pass any values, so n value 0, open the files, n equal to 0, java.lang arithmetic exception is displayed, and please pass data while running this program, and close the files. Here, because we use exception handling concept, that's why program not terminated abruptly. Once you can see program, in try block we mentioned int n equal to args dot length system dot out dot println. So we displayed here. In case if error occurs, it goes to the catch block. Next, final block. Whether error occurs or not, no matter, it will execute. Thank you. Thank you for watching.